All right, welcome in, everybody. It is another episode of the SquadCast. Of course, I'm producer Clark. Thanks for checking in. All across the SquadCast platforms on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever there's a place to put video, we pretty much have it. We have another special episode tonight. I know a couple weeks ago we did a kind of a mid-season review, if you will, with some NHL TikTok creators, and tonight is no different. Of course, tonight is post-trade deadline, so we're going to bring in a few people from across this continent, and we're going to have a great chat and kind of cover you in terms of what happened, what's going to happen going forward, what didn't happen. So we're going to have some interesting conversations. In order to do that, we're going to bring them in. We might as well just get started right away, and we're going to start from, let's go east to west, because that's just the order it's in on my little screen here. Now, I wore this jersey specifically because we have a person from New York coming into the show, and unfortunately she's wearing Yankee stuff. So I had a feeling this was going to happen. It's tucked underneath, so it's not like embarrassing. So we're okay there. But we're going to bring in, I see you're laughing, NHLAva. Let's get you. There we go. Ava, what's going on? Thanks for popping in tonight.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Sorry for crushing you at the beginning of everything.
But absolutely brutal.
Wow, you said yourself the Yankees suck. This was in our pre-show meeting, so I can't take too much of the blame here. But I'm jealous because at the end of the day, you get to go to baseball games in New York, and I'm nowhere near there. So you win at the end of the day in that regard. So I'll give you that. Ava, we'll get to you. We're going to talk about your Rangers because they were very busy. We'll talk about your second team, the Ducks, because they were busy too. And We'll get into everything else as we go. But we're going to keep moving a little bit further west as we go. Next up, we got the man himself. He told me not to give this emoji earlier today because I'm not Italian enough. LeafsFanMD, Massimo, how's it going,
What's
buddy?
up? I'm doing great, thank you.
I know it's been a busy couple of days, but how you been?
I've been great.
Perfect. Again, we're going to get into all sorts of stuff now with you, of course, at the Leafs. I'm going to try to be as neutral as I possibly can today as the host of the show, but you can be my Leafs insider, and we'll get into it because I know there's going to be some topics there to talk about. And as I mentioned earlier, maybe what didn't happen is going to be maybe more what we get into later on. So coming up right away, stay tuned, Massimo. We're going to keep going west out to the beautiful province of British Columbia because my man Armanucks is coming in. Arman. Oh, he's got the hand. There he is. How's it going, my good man?
I'm chilling.
Perfect.
Not the most active draft, though.
Yeah. So again,
trade deadline.
For the Canucks, one of those trade deadlines where I was maybe thinking some fireworks were gonna go off. Maybe they didn't go off. Maybe they malfunctioned a little bit, but we'll get into that a little bit as well. So welcome in, everybody. Here's the TikTok roundtable. We're going to get it started with some of the trades that did happen. So let's look at those now, and we'll kind of go one by one and get your thoughts on it as we go. We're going to bring up the Twitter graphics, my amazing Twitter graphic finding. The first one, the big one that happened before the trade deadline, of course, Claude Giroux going to the Florida Panthers from the Philadelphia Flyers, of course. The longtime Flyers captain looks really weird in red and gold. But nonetheless, he is now a Panther. Armanucks, let's start with you maybe. I know this doesn't affect you as your favorite team directly because you're way out west there, but when you saw this happen, what did you think? Because I think some people thought he might go to Colorado, ended up going to Florida. So what did you think about this one?
Well, I saw a bunch of tweets. I saw a bunch of rumors, like whether he's going to go to the Panthers or if he's going to go to Colorado. And the Panthers also put, I'm pretty sure it's Ekblad on the LTIR. So obviously making space for Giroux instead of going against him maybe in the finals, as the Avs are also going to be competing on the West. So I feel like it wasn't that big of a shock, especially just like they didn't give up much for the players Giroux actually is, because Giroux was not competing with him alone in the lineup with like Couturier out.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it kind of seemed like a move that I know a lot of people had talked about it maybe happening, but seems like a pretty good fit. Maybe Massimo will go to you on this one. Giroux's fit in Florida, I mean, was it just what they needed?
I mean, he makes a already great forward core, really high-scoring forward core, just that much better. I knew this was going to happen the second I heard that Philadelphia started scouting Owen Tippett, because I'm like, well, why else would they do that? He's got to be a part of the Giroux return. And it looked like that was going to happen. They get a conditional first. I don't know if that will turn into a second, but I think they don't get like a for sure first, because I think Giroux kind of said like, well, I want to go to Florida and only Florida. So I think he kind of flexed his muscles in that sense. So Philly only had to trade him to Florida. But for Florida, this is great. And for me, it's painful because it's just making the Atlantic even more difficult.
Yeah, it's the worst division right now to be in, especially when you're a team that's been like, we'll get into the Leafs later. Ava, when you saw Frank Vatrano getting traded to your Rangers, did that spark something for you? And what do you think about this trade?
I'm just glad he's not a Flyer anymore.
Yeah,
I'm sick of facing him. I really am. I loved that the Rangers got Vatrano, and I think I always sort of knew the Rangers were obviously in on him a little bit, and like they made an offer. But I always said Philly doesn't want to trade with us, number one, and Giroux does not want to be a Ranger, number two, which we learned is true. I definitely think I had a feeling it was going to be Florida. I think eventually, once they started scouting Owen Tippett, it just seemed like it fit all too well. I think it's going to make Florida just that much better, and they're my cup team right now.
Oh, interesting. Coming from a Rangers fan, I find that very interesting. And we'll get into that in a minute too. Obviously, the Panthers weren't quite done there. I don't have any graphics for this, but I know they picked up Ben Sherratt. They did some other stuff as well before the deadline. So Ava kind of said it, but Arman, does this make the Panthers, do you think this type of move, does it push them to the top of the East, even though the East is real deep right now?
The East is actually like way more competitive. Like I don't get to watch as many games because I'm like doing stuff like when their games are on, so it's kind of difficult to watch all the games and like even speak on the Eastern teams. But like adding Giroux, like obviously we got killed by them when we played them the one time or two times we played them already. And the only reason I don't care that he went to the Panthers is because Roberto Luongo is part of their organization, and I'm like, we're still paying him. So, might as well get a cup out of it too. He might bring it to Van too.
By association, the Canucks get a Stanley Cup ring if it happens. Yeah. We're going to move on to this next one here. Now, we're kind of skipping the timeline a little bit here, but Mass, I'll go to you next here. Obviously, the big move the day before the deadline on Sunday, which we waited 2.5 hours to see what actually happened here.
Painful.
That was a fun time. The Leafs get Mark Giordano and Colin Blackwell from the Kraken. You can see down here the draft picks that went the other way. Giordano got half retained. Obviously, the big narrative, and I'll let everyone else chime in here too, but the big narrative was that, the Leafs didn't do enough at the trade deadline. Does this move make it enough for you, or were you left wanting a little bit?
It really depends on how Colin Blackwell fits in, because I kind of know what Giordano is, but the thing with the Leafs that, people say left wanting more is because they wanted a forward to kind of kickstart Nylander and Tavares again. But if Blackwell can slot in there, he's got a really accurate shot. He was on pace for 20 goals multiple times. I'm pretty sure he played sick in the Rangers as well. He could definitely be that forward that the fans wanted. But just in the trade in general, acquiring Mark Giordano, Colin Blackwell, and getting 50% retained on Giordano without giving up a first is just stupendous work from Kyle Dubas.
Ava, tell us about Colin Blackwell, because you probably know a little bit more about him than some will. So
I'll tell you, he's a Rangers legend, Clark.
Rangers legend, exactly. So you know all about him.
Yeah, obviously.
So what did you see when Blackwell was a Ranger, and what can he bring to the Leafs?
I saw a hardworking guy. I mean, the Rangers were not nearly as deep, obviously, as they are this year, and with David Quinn last year, things were iffy with Kakko and Laugh, not getting stable minutes until towards the end of the year. Blackwell really stepped up and took that top six role, and he ran with it. I don't think anyone expected him to be the player he was with us. And at the end of the day, it just came down to were we going to protect him or Rooney? And obviously they ended up choosing Rooney primarily because of penalty killing, I think. Even though Blackwell is a good penalty killer too when you need him to be, he's a hard-working guy. And I think,
Ava, sorry, do you think Colin Blackwell could fit in that top six role with Tavares and Nylander?
if needed, 100%. He is up there with the big dogs, and he can fend for himself. And I 100% think he's a great fit with the Leafs.
I like it. And just slipping into my Leaf fandom here for just a second. I think the Leafs might be a little bit stronger if they can find a way to push Kerfoot down to the third line overall. I mean, I think it just makes their lineup that much deeper. But we'll have to see. I guess it's going to be interesting. Arman, I'm curious your thoughts here. As a Canucks fan, I mean, you've been on both sides of the spectrum in the last decade or so. Really, really good teams, really, really deep teams, and now you've gone through a rebuild. You're building back up. On the thought process, first off, by the way, you have the biggest fan base in this show right now because you have so many comments coming in.
Oh, do I?
I know it's covering your face right now, but I just wanted to show you the variety of people who are tuned in. But you've been on both sides now. Is it a failed deadline if you don't, shoot all your bullets, so to speak? Like if I'm talking about the Leafs held on to some draft picks. Is that something that, you think should they have done more and sent out more picks to bring in more things, or is it okay sometimes?
I think it's okay because teams are gonna regret not pushing for Miller, especially because he's so talented and he actually works so hard, but then also gets so disappointed, especially because their team's not always going right. But when the Canucks are playing really well, then the whole team's doing really well. But when Miller's the only one playing hard, he gets so frustrated on the ice. So I feel if he slots into a team that's competing, any team, the competing teams like the Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously they probably regret missing out on him. The Rangers too, but Rangers went for a bunch of players as opposed to one player. So that in that terms, I don't really care because when it comes down to draft day, they're probably if they're gonna move Miller, they're gonna move him then because that's when teams are gonna regret not getting him.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to the surprises as to what didn't happen. Miller's top of my list, but we'll get to that later. We're going to move on. Ava, we're going to go back to you here. Your boy, Andrew Kopp, he's now a New York Ranger with this beautiful graphic. Look at this graphic.
Beautiful.
I love the thing where it's we've acquired Andrew Kopp in a 6th round selection from Winnipeg. They also gave up quite a bit. Were you okay with the price for Kopp? Because, yes, he's pretty versatile, but end of the day, in Winnipeg, for the most part, he was a third line, maybe second line winger, centerman. He's been all over the place. I'm not saying he's not versatile, but what did you think of the price?
I thought it was reasonable, especially because I think Drury's going to want to re-sign him. Especially, you don't give up that much for a guy that's rental, at least in the Rangers case, because this is certainly a team that has flaws. We've seen that, especially today. But I was perfectly okay with what we gave up. The 2 picks, one of them we got, one of them was from the Blues in the Booch trade, and I like flipping that into Kopp. And with Morgan Barron, my problem with him was that he didn't really fit. They tried so hard to fit him into this lineup, and at the end of the day, he was sitting in the press box, and it's not fair to him. He's a great player, and I think he's going to do really well in Winnipeg. But I like the little bit of reuniting Kopp with his old buddies. It's got a little group with Trouba, Kopp, Vetrano, and Mott, all old friends. But I really like the pickup, and I think I'm okay with the price because the Rangers' bottom 6 has been atrocious. Just no depth. So I think this was a great ad and something that was really necessary.
Do you think they should have kept Buchnevich? Sorry, you don't have to answer that. Do you think that do you like the amount of things that they were able to pull off? I guess because they were one of the more active teams. They did bring in quite a few guys. We mentioned in our pre-show chat Justin Braun, on top of a few other guys. Did you like all of the additions so far? Do you think it makes them deep enough for a good run here?
Definitely. I think Mott is a good addition for the 4th line, especially because we've been running Greg McKegg in the lineup for the past 2 months since Kakko's been out. But I think this just really added the depth that we needed because we're such a top-heavy team. But we're also not with Kakko out because Dryden Hunt has been in and out of the top 6, which should never happen. But no, I like what they did. I understand all of the moves that they made. And Honestly, it seems to me like they take Trouba's opinion very seriously.
Oh, Captain Trouba?
That's what I'm saying. All his buddies are here now. They clearly value his judge of character.
We'll
But-
get into a whole another segment about Jacob Trouba, but let's hold that one for later. Mass, let's go to you here. This is another move that came in right at the wire, and the reason I'm asking you to talk about this is because I think Raquel was one that a lot of Leaf fans were hoping would come to Toronto at some point. What did you think about this move? I mean, Pittsburgh, Brian Burke came on national television and said prices are too high, we're not doing anything, and then slides this one in right at the end of the day. Saw that Anaheim just maybe lowered the price slightly or something and decided to pull the trigger. Let's start with the return for Anaheim, and then B, was this the right move for Pittsburgh, or should they have maybe held off?
Well, you know what? I think with Rickard Rakell, you could definitely get a first for him, but I also think that Zach Aston Reese is a pretty underrated player in the way he plays. And I think if you combine Zach Aston Reese with the second round pick, that's almost a first. So I think they look at it that way. I think with Pittsburgh, it does make sense because as long as you have Crosby and Malkin, you're going for it. And they have some pretty steady goaltending with Tristan Jarry. I think they're perfectly fine. There hasn't been a season where the Penguins have been just completely out of it.
Right. Yeah, and I can't remember who I was talking to today, but I was saying, like, essentially the cupboards are bare in Pittsburgh anyways, so you might as well just
go for it.
Just get the crumbs out of the cupboard, like keep cleaning it out, because there's no point anymore at this point. They're gone. So you might as well just push. So I like what you're saying on that one. I honestly, here we go. Josh Manson. Arman, let's go to you on this one if you don't mind, given the Western connection there. Josh Manson, he's been a guy that a lot of teams have been rumored in on, Toronto among them, but a lot of teams.
Who did I'm sorry, cut you off. Who did the Avs get? Or no, who did the Ducks get in exchange for him?
So they got prospect Drew Hellison, who's coming off a really good college run. It was Boston College, I believe. And he's Trevor Zegras' buddy. Obviously Zegras, he goes now he goes to the Ducks, and they got a second round pick as well in that one for Josh Manson. So, and I think they retained 50% on his contract, which he only had 1 year left anyways. But a big bodied guy like that going to Colorado of all teams. Colorado just gets stronger.
So like the one time, I'm pretty sure we only missed the Avs once, and we got dominated like real bad. And that was when we had Travis Green. So obviously the team wasn't playing as well. But Josh Manson, he's a solid defenseman. Like every time the Canucks played up against him, he was always like the one solid guy that's like always there. It's like he's like, for us, it's like he's the Quinn Hughes, but for them, it's like the underrated Josh Manson. Right? He never got enough credit for what he was doing on the ice, opposed to like the other defensemen that they've had in the past. So the Avs getting that, and I'm pretty sure the Ducks retained 50% of the salary. Like that's a huge help for the Avs to like compete hard and have like, I'm pretty sure they have like at least 7 solid D-men.
Oh yeah. Oh, tons. And I know that they did have some injuries. I think Samuel Girard, one of their defensemen, was hurt. And I want to say one of their other guys might have been a little banged up. But this is a huge addition for their roster going into the playoffs, especially. Quite the rental. Ava, you're a closet Ducks fan. When you first saw this one, what did you think?
I was a little upset. I loved him, and I literally saw him the day before in person, watched him score a goal.
Yes.
I'm happy with the return though. I think Drew Hellison's a great pickup, and this is the Verbeek era of the Ducks, just stacking up those picks, building, we're working on the rebuilds. I think it's a great move for both sides. It definitely benefits the Avs to get a guy like Manson for their defense, especially for 50% retained. And I think everything that the Ducks did was benefiting both sides.
Yeah, for sure. Mass, from what you've heard about Drew Hellison, for those who might not know, like what kind of player is he from what you've heard? Because I know you've done a little dive, I'm pretty sure.
You might have the wrong person because I don't know who Drew Hellison is.
Oh,
I heard
he's
better than what I thought.
Yeah, that's fair. From my understanding, I think they got themselves, in Anaheim, another guy who's going to push for at least a top 6 spot next year as a young player, and then see where it goes from there. But the Ducks just continue to get younger. We'll leave it there. we're moving on now. We don't have any, but basically from here, I want to get your thoughts on your own teams, and we'll just go through with, we'll start with Arman. We'll go with the Canucks. I mean, we kind of talked about it. Maybe they didn't pull off all the moves that we thought they might. I guess from a Canucks fan perspective, are you upset that they didn't do more, or are you happy that they kind of kept on some of those guys?
To be honest, I'm not as upset as Canucks Twitter is, because like Canucks Twitter goes wild, and like I can't even read their comments on Twitter. I'm just like, these guys just want to trade everyone, get rid of everyone. And I'm just like, they don't think about it logically. Like, Miller's just hitting his prime. And like Besser, he's on a slump. Like, he's so young, right? And he's just going to give up on a guy like him. Like, that's crazy. Especially because his qualifying offer is like 7.5 mil. And I feel like any team in the league would not give him 7.5 mil just because of the way he's been playing.
Right.
So unless you really want to like push for him and just grab him for 7.5 mil, then I'm not sure like what the teams are going to be thinking on that. But hopefully we can like renegotiate or something, because 7.5 mil for Besser playing the way he is right now, he's not even with like his contract that he's on right now as well. And then moving forward with like Hamonic, like I did not mind the Hamonic trade at all, because he was getting worse and worse for the Canucks. And like I didn't notice it until I was like watching with my cousins the other game. Like I think it was the Devils game, and then also the Tampa Bay game. This guy was turning the puck over like no tomorrow, and I'm just like, he's really losing it. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something in the locker room, but Hamonic was not fitting in with Hughes, and Hughes needs a better right-handed defenseman to like fit his role, because Hughes has been sitting back more this season than he has, because he wants to be more of a defensive player as well, because people keep saying that, oh, he's not defensive. So he's been working on his defensive skills way more and not pinching as much as he used to. But that also goes along with Hamonic not being able to recover for him like Chris Tanev used to. And then moving on with,
we're seeing now too, just to cut you off quick, but we're seeing now that Chris Tanev can still play pretty good. I mean, he's looking pretty good in Calgary.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think the Flames are pretty happy with him right now. But I guess keep going, because I know that there was a couple more things that happened too.
Yeah, the Canucks got Travis Dermott, but I'm not sure exactly. So that's where you guys come in to enlighten
I'll let
me
Matt
about.
take that one.
So I don't know what kind of player he is. So you want to like let me know?
Mass, what's up?
Right. Well, first off, it's Travis Dermott, so just make sure you get that right next time.
Dermott.
Yeah, Tyler Mott. I can see where he's coming from, though. Tyler Mott. Yeah.
He's a young guy. You still got time to develop him into what you want. I believe he's only 24. Off ice, one of the best humans you'll ever meet. On ice, he has gotten a ton of opportunities since he's joined the Leafs from the Marlies after winning the Calder Cup. But every single time he squandered them. He's good, but he's not top four good. He's a good bottom pairing defenseman. He's a strong bottom pairing defenseman at that. But in the Leafs anyway, he couldn't handle anything more. Good skater as well.
Okay. Well,
there you go.
Like for the Canucks, obviously their defense, I don't know how it can get any worse than what it already is, because on the left side we have OEL, who's been slow. Like I was hoping he would like come into his form again, but he's just slow. Like they ring it around the board. If it goes by him, he's gonna get beat down the boards every single time by the forwards. And I'm just like, can you not like speed up a little bit? Like it's annoying on that aspect, especially because OEL's like slowed down so much, especially at the age he's at. But adding a guy like Dermott, Travis.
Yeah.
We're going Travis. Until I hear his name a lot on TV, I'm not getting it. But yeah, adding a guy like him will obviously speed up the defensive end, especially because we got Rathbone in the AHL, who's also really good, but he got injured. So having Travis in the lineup will also help the Vancouver Canucks on defense.
Yeah,
and then obviously losing Mott, that one hurts me the most, just because every single time, especially because they like built a new line with Giroux. They had Lamoureux, Highmore, and Mott, and these guys were the energy bunnies. That's what they call them on the ice, because every single time you put them on the ice, they'll put everything onto they put all their effort in, and it's like they will never let down a single shift. So losing a guy like Mott and adding a guy like Brad Richardson, I don't know how that's going to work, especially because Richardson's like 37 years old. So obviously that one's going to be the biggest loss for the Vancouver Canucks on the bottom six.
Yeah, speaking of guys who are 37 years old, Sorry, hold on. Marc-Andre Fleury. That's the one trade that I forgot to add into the main conversation. The Minnesota Wild picking up Marc-Andre Fleury. Let's go, Ava. Let's start with you on this one. I don't know. The Wild are kind of in an interesting spot. Marc-Andre Fleury goes from a Chicago team that was kind of not good enough to a team that's all of a sudden one of the teams in the conversation for can anyone beat Colorado in the Western Conference this year? So what do you think? Does this push Minnesota into a different stratosphere, or is it too little too late for the Western Conference?
I think I don't know if it's going to be enough to beat Colorado because it's Colorado, but I definitely think this is a huge push in the right direction for Minnesota. They got 2 Rangers legends there already.
But the more the merrier.
Exactly. So you got a Penguins legend there, but I definitely think it's a great move for them. And Talbot's good, Kokkonen was good, but I was a little bit surprised that they traded Kokkonen though. I think a lot of Wild fans sort of viewed him as their future, and now you're rolling with Talbot and Fleury, which is a goalie tandem I never thought I'd hear. But no, I like the move, and I think it makes them that much more competitive against Colorado and at least gives them more of a chance.
There you go. Let's go over the winners and the losers. And I know it's, a day after the deadline, but from your perspectives, if you could pick a winner and or a loser, one or the other, or both, Arman, will start over on your side over there. Who do you think maybe did the best? Maybe who did the worst?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not trying to be biased here with Mott and everything. I think the Rangers added a lot of pieces, which will be really effective for them, especially because they didn't just go out and get like I said earlier, they didn't just go and get Miller. They added players in like certain sections that they needed them.
Right.
And right now, obviously, they lost today. I'm pretty sure they blew like a lead or something.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I saw a notification. It just said 4 or 5 unanswered. I'm not sure.
That was defense, though.
Yeah, but
it wasn't Tyler Mott's fault.
Oh, okay, that's all that matters. And then just adding all those pieces in to like now they just got to build the chemistry before playoffs start, and I feel like they're going to be really a strong team to play against for sure.
Perfect. Mass, we'll go with you next. Winners, losers, one or the other, both.
Well, I'm gonna say my winner was I really liked how the Anaheim Ducks embraced the sell. I thought they did a phenomenal job, so they're gonna be my winner. And I'm gonna give my loser to the Ottawa Senators because I don't know what they're doing.
Perfect. Hamonic, yeah, they made a bunch of little swaps. It was a really weird deadline.
It's questionable at best.
Yeah, definitely the Sens on the losing end.
Ava, what about you? Winners, losers, one or the other, both?
I'm thriving right now with the Ducks and the Rangers being mentioned as winners.
Yeah.
I can't disagree. I also agree. I think the Ducks, obviously, it's less of a now situation. They brought in a bunch of picks and like some young prospects, which are really going to help build the team. And like I said before, it's the Verbeek era, and I loved the way they handled the trades because obviously you knew Raquel was gone. You knew Lindholm was gone because they said that they stopped extension talks. You knew they were gone and they got what they could, and I'm very, very happy with what they did. And yeah, I'm happy with the Rangers not going out and getting Miller. I know a lot of people wanted him. A lot of people working through MSG and the Rangers wanted him, and I never really did. There was like situations with him when we were here, and he got sent down, and he was up and down because of his attitude. And I think he's changed completely, but I just don't really think he fits with the dynamic of the team. So I'm personally glad they didn't get Miller and they focused more on the bottom 6, because, like I said earlier, very top heavy team right now.
Yeah, this is probably the comment of the night here. From my man, Kessler's the only winner. Kessler got traded. Now that was part of what trade was Kessler? He got dumped in a contract.
Well, is that trade happening? Wasn't that the Dadonov
thing? Yeah, it's Dadonov in it.
So he doesn't have to go to Vegas. Is that why he's the winner, or is it, did we miss that part of it? Because I know that was quite the trade. That I guess we can get into that. I don't know if you guys know too much about the whole Dadonov issue. It sounds like paperwork just didn't get submitted on time and they failed the assignment. But I don't know. Mass, do you have any thoughts about that one?
It just sounds like Vegas doesn't really understand what they're doing. They kind of blame the Sens for it, but like you traded for Dadonov, you got to kind of read the contract, maybe. I don't know, check cap friendly. Like it's not that hard, guys. Come on.
No professional here, but I think you should read the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounded like they essentially traded him, and he's like, no. And they're like, yeah. And he said, I don't think so. I got paperwork. And they're like, well, we didn't get any paperwork. That's the idea I got from it. Very interesting. And now I think from my understanding of it, kind of puts Vegas in a really tough spot because I don't know if they have enough cap room to bring all their guys back during the regular season.
No, they don't.
No,
don't.
exactly. That was
They're
a crucial move for them.
So that could be maybe Arman. Maybe you could see the Canucks making a late push here.
I know. They just got shut out today for nothing. To the Jets.
Exactly.
Like
Jets
what?
beat Vegas for nothing. So
I don't mind that. But now Jets are going for it.
All of a sudden, Arman's over there being like, "Oh, maybe JT Miller and Brock Besser are going to push the Canucks into a playoff spot now."
Yeah.
Okay. So that could be a really interesting little way. I'm going to throw out Montreal here for a winner in that category. Anyways, I think what they were able to do and bring in a lot of youth, a lot of draft picks, kind of establish a direction, which I think was terribly missing from Montreal this season after what happened going to the Stanley Cup final and then collapsing. I was talking to my good buddy D434, Dylan Fournier, if you guys know him on TikTok, about this summer. Essentially, Carey Price, whether they keep him or move him, is going to be the biggest decision almost in Montreal franchise history. Because if they decide to keep him, then we all know what their direction is. They're going to try to push for Carey Price again. If they decide to move him, all of a sudden they're tearing it down again and building around guys like Cole Caulfield. So that's going to be an interesting one this summer to see what they end up doing with Carey Price. But I'm going to throw Montreal right now into a slight winner category. Surprising things that you guys noticed or thought about that didn't happen, or maybe surprises that did happen. Was there any out there that kind of you raised your eyebrow at, or you were surprised that didn't happen? We'll start with you, Ava. Is there anything that stands out in your mind?
I mean, the obvious one is that Phil Kessel wasn't moved.
Yeah.
The asking price is so cheap, apparently, and just the fact that he didn't get moved is strange. I also would like to throw in, not really surprising, but more I'm just upset that Rickard Rakell went to the Penguins in general, because I hate the Penguins.
Now you have to like them slightly? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's awful. It's awful, but, we deal with that. But no, I think the most surprising thing for me was that Kessel wasn't moved and that Miller or Besser wasn't moved. I was expecting one of them to get moved, I think. I got bamboozled by a fake account that Besser was traded to Minnesota. He was not.
Didn't
My
happen.
friend sent it to me, and she was tricked, and she was freaking out. And then I looked at it 5 minutes later. I'm like, that's not TSN. But yeah, so I think those were the two things that surprised me the most. But other than that, I also didn't think the Rangers were getting Kopp. I didn't think Winnipeg was going to trade Kopp.
Yeah.
But
I was hoping the Leafs were going to get him. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Mass, does anything stand out to you that didn't happen or did that you didn't think would?
Well, surprising. I was actually kind of surprised that the Florida Panthers decided to help out the Carolina Hurricanes in that three-way deal. Didn't have to do that at all, but I mean, Igor Korshkov, Leafs legend, sure.
Right.
Also,
goals per game.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised actually that the Habs actually managed to get a first for Sherrod. I thought it was going to happen, but when it started slowing down, okay, well, it's not going to happen, and then it happened. But the most surprising thing for me, when this happened, I looked at my phone twice because I didn't believe it, is when the Sens traded for Hamonic, because again, it makes no sense.
Right. I'll argue slightly on behalf of Pierre Dorion on this one. With Shabbat out, I think they just needed a whipping horse, like a guy who can just go in there and take the brunt of it. And then going into next year, another veteran to just kind of insulate the young guys a little bit. And that Pierre Maguire was in that room with a loudspeaker yelling in everybody's ear that Travis Hamonic is a good man and that they can't get him.
There's
You
got to
know
be
it.
someone in that organization who really wanted him because
Pierre Maguire. He's been saying it for
Yeah.
12 years since the World Junior Hamonic was there. He loves Hamonic. Arman, anything stand out to you? I know that we got some comments here. Like, for example, Halak not getting traded was one. I know Louis Eriksson not getting moved maybe was surprising. Anything stand out to you?
I really thought we were gonna move Halak. Like,
Yeah.
especially after starting Demko back to back, I was like, this guy's gonna wave. He's gonna move to a different team. I don't know who's gonna take it first of all, because the goals against average is terrible. Like he's lost so much confidence, and like the Canucks commentators even said, like John and John, both of them said, like, if you wanted to play for 2 weeks, he'll play 2 weeks solid. But if you're gonna give him one game every 2 weeks or one game every 3 weeks, especially because you're pushing for the playoff spot, then he's not gonna play well. And that's like the biggest thing with Halak since he's like getting older as well. He needs more games to do well. So if a team is gonna like play Halak, then that's the only way they would have like pushed forward. And then one surprise was Max Domi got moved to the Hurricanes, even though I heard that he was gonna get traded. I really wanted it to be moved to the Vancouver Canucks because I wanted Horvat and Max Domi to do their thing because they used to play on London Knights together. And they have that one play, through the legs, and then there's a one-timer goal, and I'm just like recreate that scenario kind of thing.
That would have been super cool. I didn't think of the Horvat Domi connection. I was thinking Marner and Domi, or even in Montreal, like where Dvorak's there now with that London Knights connection. But I don't think he was going to go back to Montreal, from what I've heard.
Halak reminds me. I don't know why I didn't say this to begin with. Georgiev.
Right, I was thinking about him. Yeah, there was multiple goalies actually. Come to think of it, like Varlamov wasn't moved. A few guys.
I think the prices on the goalies were too high. I don't think any team was willing to play that price on the goalie.
Well, from what I heard about Georgiev is that no one wanted him.
Yeah, he's an
his attitude, because he basically said to the media, not like rudely or anything. I'm sure there's a clip of it. He just said, it's difficult not having consistent playing time, which isn't rude. It's true, especially when you're a goalie. And I think Georgiev knew. He went from backing up Hank to backing up Igor. Like, he knew there was a really lot for him.
Yeah, that's not fair.
I thought someone would want him. And I thought that the Rangers would.
Leafs.
I really thought that the Rangers would trade Georgiev.
Or that would too.
And then trade for another backup. They know that they were interested in Grice. Or even Halak, known Rangers killer. But
can't kill you if he's on your team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was just surprised that no one really wanted Georgiev, and then he went out and shut out the Hurricanes, stood on his head, made 44 saves or something in a game that we had no business winning.
Yeah. That's kind of his thing though, right? He plays on his head in weird games, and then the rest of them he's kind of,
and then the rest of them he'll let up 5 goals on 10 shots.
Yeah, if he plays a team in Toronto, he always gets a 55 save shutout.
Oh yeah, on his birthday too, right?
Yeah. A couple of comments here from the viewers. Kevin says, "I'm surprised that Mrazek wasn't moved." The whole waivers situation with him kind of shook me up a little bit because I thought he might get claimed. I'll tell you why in a second. B, the fact that they lost the guy they tried to sign from Europe, I think was just garbage. But with Arizona, I'm just going to say this about Arizona. The fact that they didn't claim Mrazek, but claimed a guy is he older and hasn't played in the NHL for 8 years, who I don't even know if he wants to play in Arizona. I thought that they were going to take a guy like Mrazek, who's under contract for 2 more years after this and is forced to play for their team and had no choice. That was kind of my thought process with that. I thought they were going to snag him. One other one, Elias is saying the DeBrusk scenario was surprising. That's an interesting one because they signed him to an extension after he requested a trade. Hey, no, we're going to keep you longer. And then they didn't trade him. But my understanding of that one, Elias, is that they might trade him at the draft. So they'll keep him for this run.
Yeah,
see what happens.
I think they're good enough to do some damage in the playoffs. I don't think it would make sense to trade DeBrusk in that situation.
And who knows what was even out there. A lot of teams might have been trying to get him. The way a lot of the trades worked, I don't know if you guys noticed this as much as I did, but it seemed like it was a lot of salary retention and then prospects going the other way. It wasn't many hockey trades going on this year as there has been in years past, where it was like a forward for a defenseman and they swap. It seemed like a lot of spare parts for a player going the other way, and it didn't seem like I don't think the Bruins are interested in that kind of stuff. They wanted to add to their team, if anything. So I think that's probably why he didn't get moved more than anything.
Pretty sure they wanted Garland. The Canucks, and then no one wanted to take him or whatever. I think they wanted Pearson too, or that was the Kings, and then Kings also wanted Garland as well.
I think every team across the league probably wants Connor Garland.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind trading him because he's just under Bruce. He just hasn't done anything.
Okay.
The past 2 games he's been pretty good, creating chances and everything. But ever since Green left, this guy's lost his scoring touch. He's lost his offensive abilities.
Interesting. I'll throw this out there too. One team that didn't do anything was the Islanders. And I kind of thought they were going to do some stuff. The Devils didn't really do much either, I guess, if we're looking over there. But the Islanders, with how disappointing they've been this year, I thought they would have done something. Instead, they extended 2 players. They didn't trade Chara.
Cal Clutterbuck again.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't trade Chara. They didn't trade Varlamov. It seemed like it was the type of year that would have been perfect to move on from a few of those older players on their team and start.
Well, I mean, Clark, that shouldn't be a surprise for you. You know how stubborn Lou Lamoriello is. He's going to go into next season with the same roster.
When you've got time, you take it, right? That's the quote we heard all the time, right?
Lou Lamoriello is something.
It seemed like it was a team that just looking at the team itself, I thought they might make some changes, but
I just don't get why they extended Clutterbuck again. I don't understand it.
Identity line. What do you mean?
According to Larry Brooks,
best fourth line in the league.
According to Larry Brooks, the Rangers could benefit from Cal Clutterbuck somehow.
No,
of course they can.
I just got traumatized from his name. He's the one who injured. Well, Besser went for the hit and got hurt with the side of the boards, but ever since then, he's never been the same. Legit, never been the same.
Yeah, hitting Cal Clutterbuck's doesn't usually end in a good time.
No.
Let's take a look at the outlook going forward, team. We'll bring up. Let's go. Let's do this. I always click the wrong button. Here's the Eastern Conference. This is the wild card scenario. So as of right now, we're looking at a Carolina, Washington. No, sorry. Carolina. Depends on how it all finishes up. But let's just, for argument's sake, say it's Carolina, Washington, Florida, Boston. And then it would be Pittsburgh, New York, and Tampa, Toronto. So looking at the East, we'll go top to bottom here. Ava, if you want to start off. I mean, all these matchups are must-see TV, in my opinion. I think this is going to be a great playoffs in the East. Is there anyone in this group that you think? And this is going to be the group, by the way. The East is pretty much settled. There's not going to be any changes.
Order might change, but the team.
Scroll down to third. Scroll down to third in the wild card.
Oh, it's terrible. This is not even.
Yeah, there you go.
It's gone. Look at -28.
It's not changing.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it's not changing. So, I mean, out of this group, I heard you say Florida earlier, but is there a clear favorite? Who emerges out of this gauntlet?
I mean, Carolina is going to be pretty freaky. I mean, unless you're Alexander Georgiev, but Carolina is going to be pretty hard to beat.
I don't know. They got first round Freddie.
Yeah, man.
It's always hard for me to go against Washington because they're just such a good playoff team. Sometimes.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that all these teams,
when they want to be.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. All these teams have had recent success pretty much outside of a couple, and we won't mention who. But for the most part, Pittsburgh's won 2 cups recently. Carolina's had a couple round wins. The Rangers are looking like they're ready to do it. Florida's loaded up. Tampa's won 2 cups in a row. They're Boston. Washington's won recently. So this is a strong, I'm not talking about Toronto. This is a strong group overall. I mean, it's going to be tough for any of these people to get out of it. What do you think about the matchup?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Ava.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I don't think the Rangers win a playoff series.
Interesting.
I think
you don't think they can beat Pittsburgh?
I think they play Pittsburgh and it goes to 7 games, maybe. But I don't see it. I don't think that Shesterkin can stand on his head that long. I think they have to learn how to win without Shesterkin having to make 40 plus saves every game.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not. They don't have a sustainable way of winning right now. And if they want to make a serious run, which is obviously what they want, though Gallant won't tell you that. Gallant won't say that we're in the playoffs. He said he's not taking anything for granted. We're not in the playoffs until the X is next to our name. But
Right.
I really, really don't see us winning a series. I think we play Pittsburgh and it'll be an entertaining series and we win games, but I don't see us coming out of it.
Just a quick little, as I'm looking at the numbers here, the second lowest goal differential in this group with plus 26, and the basically tied for lowest goals for among these 8 teams. Mass, let's go to you. Thoughts on these matchups as they sit today?
Great matchups. I think it's a crime one of these teams will be eliminated. Go back to the actual playoff format. That'd be great. Thank you.
The actual playoff format, just for fun, I'll get it up here just for fun, would be Florida, Washington, Carolina, Boston, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Rangers, Tampa. See, that's way better.
It makes more sense too.
Yeah. I think that I agree. I don't know if they're going to ever change it back, but I think there's some momentum. I think there's some momentum among people to do it.
I was looking at it and I'm thinking the only way they would change it is if so many teams from one division are so dominant that they can't even get on the wild card. So you need like 6 teams, and then one doesn't make it.
And one doesn't get in, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
That would do it, for sure. Armand, do you want to touch on these, or should we move over to the West?
Well, okay, I don't watch these teams as much, but looking at it, Toronto's gonna have a tough time. Like they're
gonna have a
really
tough
good
time
team
regardless.
Yeah, I know. Like obviously that's like on the side, but Tampa Bay, man, like that's gonna be a hard ass.
People are like worried. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. People are worried that the Leafs could drop into the wild card. I'm like, I'd rather go into the wild card.
I think it would be a strategy to go in the wild card.
Yeah, like let's just tank the next 10 games. Let's do that.
Because who wants to verse defending champs, back-to-back defending champs for that? Like
who wants to verse Vasilevsky in the playoffs?
Exactly. Like he's gonna stand on his head, obviously, and then the other matchups, Pittsburgh and the Rangers. I feel like Ava.
NHLAva is what I call her, but it's Ava.
What Ava said about I don't know how to say. What's the goalie's name?
Igor.
Yeah,
just call him Igor.
Igor. But Demko's done it before. He could stand on his head. If he stands hard and you guys just cheer him on, maybe he'll beat the Pittsburgh on his own. But that's if he goes playoff mode. He has to go like playoff mode. But other than that, I'm not sure with the other matchups.
The thing with goaltending, especially in the playoffs, is it's so voodoo. Like the only goalie that I trust to be themselves in the playoffs is Vasilevsky. That's the only goalie I trust.
Yeah, Bobrovsky, Swayman's never done it. Samsonov or Vanacek in Washington, good luck.
That's why, Clark, I wouldn't mind playing Florida because I think stylistically they're a decent match for Toronto, and they could probably score a few against Bobrovsky.
Well, and we're going to find out too, and this is just a little scheduling stat that I looked at, but the Leafs specifically play Boston, Florida, and Tampa 7 out of the last 20 games of the season. So we're going to find out how they play against these teams because every team is a little bit different since the last time we played them too.
It's kind of wild that we haven't played Florida yet. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, not once. So we don't know that for sure, but I totally agree with you that I think stylistically Florida seems like a good matchup. But let's go over to the West. I guess we could look at the bottom teams for a sec. Bye. There we go. Let's look at the West. So the matchups as of today would be, and just look at who's close. This is so much closer. Like even if you go down to as far as Anaheim, I mean, they're kind of in a discussion at least compared to what the East is like. But the matchups as of today, Colorado, Vegas, which has always gone well in the past. St. Louis, Minnesota, LA, Edmonton, and then Calgary would play Nashville, which kind of sucks because Nashville's going to beat Calgary up. And it seems even if Calgary beats them, which I think they would, Nashville's not going to be an easy out. So I guess, Armand, let's start with you. This is your conference, man. What do you think about these matchups? Is it Colorado or bust pretty much in the West?
I'm not sure because the only time we visit Vegas and the only time I've watched Vegas play is that one time when they beat the Canucks. But the Canucks are gonna face them 3 more times, I'm pretty sure, in the last month.
Mhm.
So with that in hand, Vegas might not even be there. Because
Yeah.
if
Let's
one
look
team
at
just
these- let's
steals,
look at these points again really quick. Like Dallas has 5 games in hand,
that's crazy.
and they're only a
3
point
on
down.
us as well. Yeah.
That could
But
be
the thing
something.
is with Vegas, if we sweep them, if we got lucky,
Yeah.
not gonna lie, because we just don't match up with them. But if we sweep them, then we're gonna get 6 points. But if they sweep us, they just create a huge margin, right? Because 6 points is a lot of points, especially
Well, right now it's the
in this
difference.
race.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the difference. Yeah.
And we're racing the Avs tomorrow as well, so we'll see how they play or pan out, and then depending on that, I don't even know how Dallas is there. We played Dallas at the start of the season with the Green, and we were playing so well against them, and I'm just like, how are they here? I don't know how they're winning games. I don't know
Jason
how they're doing
Robertson.
it with. I don't know how they're doing it with the core that they have right now, but they're
Check
doing
out their,
it.
check out their
Props
goal
to them.
differential too, right? Like they're a
Yeah.
-3. They don't score goals. And somehow they're still hanging around.
I don't know. I've watched their game too, and I'm just like, I don't know how they're doing it. They're just scoring somehow when they need to score, and then they get the saves when they need them most. But
Yeah.
Calgary, they're really they packed up for the playoffs. They got every piece that they wanted, and now they're just ready to face whichever teams comes at them. Especially with Daryl Sutter as their coach, they're much better than what the previous Flames Flames teams that I've seen.
Yeah.
This Flames team, I look at them and I'm like, we're losing. I've never said that. I've never been like, oh yeah, we're gonna beat them. But I was always never like, oh yeah, we're gonna lose guaranteed. But
Yeah.
with Daryl Sutter as their coach, especially after we smoked them 7-1, they came and they just smacked us back, and I'm just like, well, this isn't the same Calgary team as the past, especially.
No, and getting Tyler Toffoli like they did, and getting
Yeah.
Cali just got deeper and deeper too.
And then with LA and Edmonton, I don't know how LA's winning their games too. These teams, that's confusing me because LA was under us, and then all of a sudden they're second in our in division. I just don't know what's going on. And then with Edmonton, they're gonna lose because of goaltending, right? Because whenever the Canucks play Edmonton or any team plays Edmonton, you can do the little penalties on McDavid and get away with it. And that's what was it Denot or
Dano?
Dano, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna match him up against McDavid, and then just gonna shut him down. After they shut him down, then what? You got Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, which aren't as effective scoring wise. Obviously, Draisaitl gets his points, but those are mostly off the icings. Because I've realized playing them a lot, every single icing they just throw on McDavid and Draisaitl, and that's where they usually capitalize as well. So those are the situations where Draisaitl is most effective as well with McDavid. And then looking at St. Louis,
go ahead.
Yeah, you can go.
No, go ahead. I was just going to put this one comment in here. Colin's just saying it's going to cover everybody up, I guess. But Bettman is so married to the divisional brackets that he has, just because it's like March Madness, we hate the format. Go back to the old 1-8 with division winners automatic 1 or 2. I don't know, guys. I think there might be some momentum with the fan base. Maybe it'll come at least into discussion.
I don't think Bettman listens to fans, Clark.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, but they did with the what was it, John Scott back in the All-Stars?
Yeah, that was
everyone spammed. If everyone can spam the comments on every single post on NHL, it will happen. But everyone has to do it. Not one person, everyone. It has to be a full effort.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at Colorado and them matching up what they're matching up with Vegas.
Vegas right now, yeah.
Yeah, Colorado is just so strong. Obviously they've had this series in the past. Vegas is a playoff team, right?
Yeah.
But if they can't somehow get Mark Stone in there, and they have Eichel, and they're not working, it's not working right now. I don't know how Vegas is going to be able to come out of that alive, especially because their goaltending is not as well as it was in the past.
I don't think they make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I
feel like if anyone, it's going to be Dallas.
Right? If they don't
I'm not even that confident in my team.
If they don't get Leonard back in Vegas and they can't figure out a way to get those guys that are injured back in their lineup because of their salary cap scenario, I think they're going to miss the playoffs.
And I will
also fire GM for that.
Yeah.
You should fire your
they
GM for that.
They could have had Mrazek for free, Ava.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'll
you're right.
Vegas
Dallas with 5 games in hand. Like, I didn't even realize that. They have a busy schedule, but they still have those games to make up, and they're only 1 point back. Winnipeg could fight for it. I would love to see Vancouver scrap for it too. Like, they could be really tight. Ava, any thoughts on any of this stuff?
I mean, Calgary is just... I think they're very underrated, contender. I think they go, Markstrom's been unreal this year. Even their backup, Vladar, has been really good. It's just they're a really good team up and down the lineup, and the addition of Toffoli is really important. Kachuk's been playing out of his mind. Mangiapane's been playing out of his mind. Obviously Johnny Gaudreau is Johnny Gaudreau. And I just think, Lindholm just having another great year. I think that they're a very underrated team, and the Pacific is really strange.
So strange.
It's a really weird division. And then I think Calgary or Nashville ends up being the team to come out of the Pacific at least. Because I don't think LA has got enough to make a playoff run. I think they're still a really young team. And then Edmonton's got no goaltending. As much as they want Connor McDavid to put the entire team on his shoulders, he really cannot do that. Him and Draisaitl can't be the whole team. And then I don't think Vegas makes it. I think Dallas makes it. I think Nashville-Calgary would be a very, very good series.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Mass, any thoughts on the West here before we start wrapping it up?
Yeah, I just want to talk about 3 teams in general. Calgary, I know Ava said they're underrated. I don't think they're underrated. I think teams kind of know what they are at this stage. They've been playing playoff hockey since the halfway mark. They're a team where everything is going right. Like, Markstrom has 9 shutouts or something like that. They're playing a really solid defensive system, and they can score too. Gaudreau found his form again. Lindholm is probably one of their best players right now. Kachuk is playing out of his mind. They have depth. Calle Jarnkrok's going to make that team even better. Tyler Toffoli is going to help them score. Like, it's a really, really solid team. And I think they honestly could make it out of the West. I think they're not better than Colorado, but the best team usually doesn't end up making it to the final. So I think Calgary will make it to the final. Colorado is just an absolute force, and they should definitely make it out of the second round, but something tells me they're not going to do it yet again. And the final team I want to touch on is one of my favorite teams in the West to watch, purely because of Kirill Kaprizov, is Minnesota. I think Marc-Andre Fleury is a goalie who could either cost you a series or win you a series. He could bring you to the Western Conference Final, or he could get you eliminated in the first round. I do like the team. I think they're really strong defensively, and I think they do have some talent offensively. Matthew Boldy has emerged as a stud out of nowhere, and I think they've got some offensive firepower. I just question whether or not the goaltending is solid enough.
There you go. I love it. Good takes. All right, we're going to bring it back here now. That's pretty much going to do it here for us, I think, everybody. That was an awesome little wrap-up. I appreciate you guys all joining me. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a moment to plug yourselves. Arman, if you can let everybody know where they can follow you and see all your stuff and see your Tyler Mott video that you just posted the other day, because it was awesome.
I'll post another one. We're sad out here. But, yeah, you can follow me at Armanucks on TikTok. I got Twitter. Don't use it as much, but I will start tweeting more. And I got YouTube and Instagram. And then I got Snapchat as well. It's just my name and my last name, but you'll find that on Instagram.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you. Mass, go ahead. Where can everybody buy your phone cases that I also have?
Okay. Well, I got a Redbubble, right? That is.
You got one too?
LeafsFanMD.
No,
I did not.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't design that one. It's sick though. So I got Redbubble. That's LeafsFan. That's not LeafsFanMD. Sorry, that's Massimo DF. That's my name with DF as capitals. I got a hockey podcast, which with a new episode coming hopefully soon. It's called the Offsiders Podcast. You can find that on every podcast streaming platform. Obviously TikTok, LeafsFanMD. Obviously Twitter, LeafsFanMD. And yeah, that's about it.
Love it. Ava, what you got going on? You just launched something recently.
I did. So my personal TikTok is at NHLAva, not NHLAva.
NHLAva.
Lava.
Twitter, NHL_Ava. Really good content there. I promise I don't just tweet about Jacob Giroux.
Well, it's only like 40% Jacob Giroux.
It's okay. But follow Inside the Rink on TikTok. It's a lovely group of writers and podcasts, and it's just a really great group. And follow us on TikTok. I'm running their TikTok now. Hopefully going to be coming out with a lot more content soon. Follow them on Twitter and go to the website and read some articles.
There we go. Perfect. I love it. Armand, did you want to add something? I saw you put your hand up there.
Yeah, Dallas just won, so technically they're in the second part of the ball.
What if I refresh
there it
it?
is.
Is it going to change?
Dallas beat Edmonton. Why am I not surprised?
Is it going to change? I'm just refreshing the standings to see if it changed. It hasn't changed yet on NHL.com.
Yeah,
wow,
changed
NHL.com.
Slacking.
Well, it just happened. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to let you all go. Everybody, thank you for jumping in here tonight. Make sure if you're watching right now, go follow all of these great people. And we'll see you guys on TikTok probably.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Mass, you're still in. See you, Mass. You're out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out again for another episode of the SquadCast, of course. Producer Clark here. And I know everyone's asking where Max is. He's still okay. He's doing fine. Max will be back shortly. He's just wrapping up some busy schoolwork. So he will be back on the airwaves before too long. I saw some questions come in late, and I should have kept Ava. One of them was for Ava, but she did talk about Morgan Barron earlier in the show. So if you are curious about Morgan Barron, after we're done here, just rewind and you can go check out the beginning of the show. She talked about that trade, so she'll tell you about it there if you want to go back. But everyone, thanks for checking in tonight. I will wrap it up here and just say thank you. And next week, me specifically probably will be doing. I think we're going to do a Blue Jays season preview as I wear my brand new George Springer jersey. And it's probably going to be roundtable style again. I'm not quite sure if Max is going to be ready to go next week, but he's going to be jealous if he's not, because I think I'm going to get some big boppers in the Blue Jays media world to come in, and we're going to do a bit of a roundtable. So it should be a ton of fun. So make sure you guys tune in next week as well. If you haven't already on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. If you're watching on TikTok, Craig Ballard may or may not be involved next week. I don't know if he knows this. Craig, are you watching? You might be involved next week. But we're going to have some fun. It'll be a good episode. But if you're watching on TikTok, please hit the follow button, tap the screen, and we'll talk to you guys later. But we'll see you 1 week from today, and bye for now.